and then also play Frigid Heatwave because it's just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, the card's
I gained
great.
a lot of respect for that card last night. Not because I got lost to it, just because I saw it do so much. And it was just
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
well, it's a
I mean
lot
it
easier
gives
to get 6 ranged in there than I thought it was. So,
yeah, and it gives card draw to symbols that don't always have it, which is nice.
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very conditional, but it's a very good card draw at the same time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, well, John, I am all set up over here now. So
Okay.
whenever you're ready, do your intro thing.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the UA podcast. This is the Symbols of Peace podcast series. This week we are talking about the Earth symbol. I'm your host, John Jennings. With me is Ryan Kraft. Today we have a special guest co-host, Chris Smith. How's it going, Chris?
Good. It's super early here. Well, it's only an hour behind you guys, but still, it's kind of early. So,
Okay. All right.
Don't act
good.
tired, man. You told me you wake up at like 5 a.m. every day. It's like
Oh yeah,
nine,
don't don't,
eight
don't
your
take pity
time.
on me. I was up at 5 o'clock. Yesterday. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're not familiar with the series, what we're going to do is each week we take a specific symbol in the UFS My Hero Academia card game, and we kind of talk about its strengths, its weaknesses, the attacks we like, the foundations. We go through the characters and which characters we think are the best. But first, before we get to that, let's talk about some current events. I don't think there's really been much news from Jasco about anything. But Chris, I know you've been going out and playing some locals events and stuff. How's that going?
I played in my first constructed local yesterday at Boar's Hat Gaming in Elgin, which is like a half an hour from me in Rockford, Illinois.
Okay.
We had 8 people. We had 2 new players, 1 newish player who's played before who came back because MHA is amazing and it's awesome, and
Mhm.
then 5 veterans. And
Okay.
yeah, I took a Void Eraserhead. You see the deck profile whenever Matt gets it to Ryan, and then Ryan's able to post it. Um,
Hopefully this
took
week
the
sometime.
tech profile will be up, and I had changed it like by 4 or 5 cards the morning of because that's what all deck builders do. They change
Oh
things
yeah.
consistently. I went 3-0. I only dropped 1 game all day to a Froppy that just drew the nuts on a turn, and I just died. And then
Hmm.
yeah, but it was fun. It was a good time. Really good pricing. I pulled the Bakugo XSR.
Oh,
Hooray!
that's
My
pretty sweet.
first. I'm gonna play it and bend the crap out of it. So that's just the plan. It's just the plan. Just gonna play it.
That's what
Just
cards are
Yeah,
microwave
we
it.
for.
have we got some locals. We play locally here in my basement because we don't have a shop locally. So we play like 5 to 6 people twice a week.
Okay,
Just to
that's
get
really
games,
cool.
So
you know.
how do you get random people you don't know they're newbies to come to your basement?
Which
Just
is kind
asking, not
of
for
weird.
card reasons, just like curious.
It sounds like a Netflix show, like a plot, like in a Netflix show. No, there's a couple people who play Digimon at the local store that we used to play at, and they've been recruiting people. So I haven't done really anything other than have my basement
Gotcha.
be available. So everyone else
Okay,
is doing
cool.
the leg. Kind of like how we were when back in the UFS days. I would be the quote unquote head of the play group, and then all my minions would do all my bidding. So
I mean, like I remember going to Atlanta to play in a PTC, and we went to Piglet's house to like
Mhm.
finish up the tournament. Like in his
Oh
parents'
yeah.
nice ass house. Just that's just how things go sometimes, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Everyone's and you knew any new players who watch this will know like once you go to a large event, you're part of a family, and
Hmm.
people will take you in. We'll probably rib you a lot and definitely give you a lot of crap, but you're definitely part of the family.
You're
Yeah.
gonna have a good time, and they'll test and see if your liver works as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's really cool though. One of the things I do like about UFS is it does have kind of a very DIY feel to it, and I'm big into punk rock and that kind of stuff, so I love like the DIY feel already. But that's really cool, man. I like that. Now, do you have a lot of like older players who like maybe play UFS and are hesitant to dip into My Hero? Because I see on the Facebook forums like that's kind of a thing. I feel like a lot of the UFS players are kind of taking like, I don't know about My Hero. That's not the real game. Do you have that a lot?
Mm-mm, it's a complete opposite.
Oh.
Our play group was lost 3 people when Bebop came out because the
Hmm.
numbers were so crazy,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
whole turn 2 explosion and all that. It wasn't our jam. We're more of like traditionally we are a mid-range group. We play mid-range. We don't
Okay.
we have the people who once in a while will build an aggro deck, but it's all we like the interactions and
Hmm.
playing the game and not blowing up on turn 2 all the time. We just like to play the game and Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
winning's awesome, but we want to have fun with our opponent, and that's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
the point of playing a game.
I hear
Yeah,
ya.
everyone pretty much came back for My Hero after it was like, oh, these cards actually look really fun to play with, and I don't have to die on turn 2 to have fun. It's like
Yeah.
a big
Yeah, I
deal.
know. I know for us here, like we, when Fantasy Flight owned the game and they did their like big blowout sale right before they killed the game without telling anyone they were killing the game, we had a bunch of people that bought product because it was like $2 for the price of one, and we were able to convince a lot of people to start trying to get into the game. And
Mhm.
then once they tanked it, like it's been impossible to get people interested. But when we went to play locally, not yesterday but the Saturday before, we actually had people stopping and asking about the game, which was nice. So I'm excited
Right.
about being able to build a group around this way.
Mhm. And I know even a couple of stores in Greenville. So we mainly play in Anderson, but there's a couple stores in Greenville too. And I know they got product, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna do events and stuff. So maybe, we'll have more of an upstate scene, which would be nice for
Cool.
us."
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know like down south in southern Illinois, a buddy of mine, he was traditionally the only player for UFS in the lower half of Illinois. He was the only guy.
Oh wow,
And now since My Hero's come out, he has 20 players
wow,
because of My Hero. They have 20 player locals at his shop, which is
That's
that's
awesome.
awesome.
it's insane to think of that because I traditionally locally we only had like 5 or 6 back in the UFS days, and I'm pretty sure we hit 8 or 10 every now. People come in from Chicago or whatever, but I couldn't imagine like playing in a 20 person. I haven't played in a 20 person tournament locally since I used to play old Score Z, and we had like 30 people play it. And
Mm.
that's like 20 years ago. It's just I don't play Magic, so I have no idea
Yeah.
about the giant local scene. So I've always played traditionally smaller card games.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for
About it.
me and John, probably like Friday Night Magic, probably like 10 years ago when we all played Magic, is probably the only time we saw 20 player locals in anything around here.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to do like 12-player drafts. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good.
No, it did
Yeah,
not.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. Trying to think, is there anything else really? I don't think there was a Joffus this week, right?
There was not. There was a text to Joffus, but there's zero information in it.
Yeah,
Mm.
because there's still kind of the debate on whether or not what from My Hero is going to be legal in standard. I think they haven't quite ironed that out yet. Is that
Well,
right?
hold on. No, they have 100% ironed it out. The shit
Oh,
is
they
not going
have.
to be in
Okay.
standard until after the first big MHO event, and people keep
Okay.
questioning it, but they've said it very clearly like 4 different times. They said after there's a big My Hero event, then they will put that stuff into standard. But
Okay.
that's what it is.
All right.
So because what? Because it's not legal for nationals still.
Right.
So it's basically it will be legal in standard after the first of the year or
I was
whatever.
gonna say
Yeah.
because they said OP doesn't start for My
Let's
Hero
see.
until next year, right?
Right.
They said what OP for MHAO is not until maybe February or March of next year, which makes sense because
Yeah.
because you don't want to have a one set organized play in a way because that would just get kind of stale after 'cause because by then we'll probably have the format solved,
Yeah.
in a way. We'll know what the strongest decks are by then. So if you add a second set and another DLC and some more tournament packs, it kind of shakes up the meta for the OP season,
Hmm.
which also makes sense if they do nationals and if they do their own nationals and worlds for MHAO. It wouldn't be until after set 2 is out, obviously, and then maybe possibly set 3, because then you'll have more of a variance of decks that will be played in those set events. At
Yeah. I
least
think if we see, what was the last part you said? I'm sorry.
that's what. Well, I mean, like you don't want to have like a 1 or 2 set worlds because it would kind of feel kind of weird. You kind of want to
Yeah.
make sure you have enough of a variance. So I personally wouldn't do it until they have 3 sets out.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we see a Nats and a Worlds for MHA next year. They'll probably have a Worlds if I had to guess, and it'll be towards the end of the year. If that would be
Yeah.
my guess on it.
Because you could definitely have 3 sets out at that point. At
Oh,
the
yeah.
at the rate they seem to be planning anyway.
I mean,
Well,
set 2's already in the warehouse, and they're wrapping up set 3 from what they said a couple weeks on the Jawfus.
Set two went to print 2 weeks ago. So
It
set
went
two
to print 2 weeks
two
ago.
weeks
Okay.
ago. So that should be technically, heaven forbid, like they have another dock shortage stoppage
Yeah.
thing. So they're probably getting ahead of that a bit. But I know that they're finishing. I don't know how much I should know about this stuff, but I know way too much already. Because because I still have sources inside everywhere. So it's, set 2's in print. They're doing text file stuff just to make sure XRs aren't different from the regular copies. Like
that's a real problem with set 1.
yeah,
There's no way that could ever happen.
It's not really a problem. It's like 5 cards, and it's not
Yeah.
that big of a deal in the long run because all they have to do is issue an errata, a thing say, well, any XR version that's different, refer to, you have to have a copy of the regular card on you if you play the XR versions, which is what they did with like a bunch of other cards that had misprints. Where if you played alternate arts, you'd have to have the actual card with you to prove that you had it. So
that makes sense.
But I don't know about set 3 or anything, but I know like they have the whole set 2 DLC and all that stuff done. It's just like it just needs to print and ship, and then they're already ahead of the game already. It's just like set 2, they have to stick the landing again with set 2 because set 1 they've had 2 years to perfect, so that's the big thing. And then set 2 has to stick the landing just like and give you that feeling of set 1. And not be like a giant power spike. And that's the issue. Is you don't want a giant power spike and just alienate everyone who loves set 1.
Yeah.
I have faith. I have faith in the team. I do. I know it's just really weird because the way I ended things with UFS back in the day, but new fresh start MHA only is amazing, and I'm on board for it. So.
I know OnePlus, I think they've said for set 3 that they're going to identify the XRs. It's still going to have the original rarity on it, right?
Oh, really?
I think they've talked about it. I don't know if it's officially, but I think they're considering doing that. So it'll be like XR uncommon or XR common, which would be awesome.
Oh, instead of having XR, they'll have XRC or XRR or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
They all but confirmed that on the Joffice 2 weeks ago
that
was happening. But Jason confirmed it, but then, Tim is always like, don't say anything officially until later.
Well, they did that with the XSRs. It says XSR on it, so they did it with that at least. So it makes sense then to go forward, delineating the rarity. At least, so
I think they said for set 2 it was too late to do that. Like you said, it's basically already at print. But for set 3, I think they're going to try to do that, which awesome. Please do that. If you're still on the fence about it, please do that.
Yeah, most definitely do that. Yes. All right, so should we get any other news, or should we just?
I was gonna say, for me saying there was nothing to talk about in current events, I think that was our longest current event segment.
So like your normal your normal episodes are what, like a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour.
So
buckled in for this one because I talk a lot. So
that's fine. That's awesome.
That's fine, man. Yeah. So as we said, this week's episode is about Earth. Can I give you a rundown of all the different Earth characters we've got? We've got a good amount of them. We've got the DLC Ida. We've got the Plus Ultra. Is it Power Up Pack or it's Plus Ultra, right? Plus Ultra Pack.
Ultra Pack.
I'm going to remember that one of these days.
No, you won't.
Plus Ultra Pack. You're right, I won't. We got Mount Lady, Jiro, and then from the actual set, we've got All Might, Kirishima, Nomu, and Aoyama.
Don't forget about Kamui Woods.
And Kamui Woods, yes, from the Quirk Packs, yes.
From Quirk Pack, yeah.
Man, I remember when that guy got spoiled, we were all like, "Oh my god, this dude's gonna be awesome!" And I was like, still don't. He still seems really good. I don't know that he has a home quite yet.
I think you're correct on that because I keep struggling. I've struggled to find us like. I guess we can get into it later, but like, I'm why play Earth on another character when I can just play Kirishima? But we'll get into that later.
Well, no, this is the perfect spot to talk about. Talking about the characters.
If I'm gonna play Earth, I'm playing Kirishima. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna play because he's basically a 7-hander anyways. And I told Juma that I wouldn't do a bunch of Kirishima hate because he doesn't want his boy banned. Because that happened with him and Dave Wagner got a character banned in an article. So I promise I will not shit on Kirishima all that much. So.
No, it's fine. Kirishima is probably my favorite character in this set. He is incredibly powerful. I think you said the list of best Earth characters kind of begins and ends with Kirishima, right? Like everyone else is playing for second place. He just
except for Nomu, he's last.
Fair. Well, you got to be careful. We're going to catch a lot of hate. I feel like everything I read on like Facebook or like the general Discord is like, oh my god, Nomu is the best. And something Matt and Ryan talked about, and I agree with, is like playing Nomu is like getting 2-for-1 in reverse because he makes every attack hit for 2 attacks, right? Yes. But if they completely block it, then they're blocking 2 attacks at once.
Yeah. To expand on that, like I think the way they're trying to make up for his lack of hand size is to make all of his attacks count as 2. I think is what John's saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like but that doesn't work when you just get blocked because you have no way to push through the damage in your symbols. So
And
he's not good.
We'll find going into the symbol, that's a huge issue with Earth. Outside Oyama, they have they barely have, let's see, Ida has speed, and
Ojiro has speed.
Ojiro has some speed, but I didn't count the DLC and all those tournament pack guys, because I just went with the base set. So
okay.
My biggest thing was they can't push through currently. First biggest issue is pushing damage through. Like they can get damage all day. It's fine, but they have no way to make it stick outside of maybe 1 or 2 cards.
I was gonna say, you've got pull no punches, but that's a deadlock enhance only. It's maybe the best deadlock enhance in the game, but your opponent has to play into it, which is not great. Yeah.
Night Watch, coordinated effect, and a combo kick says otherwise. But
I said maybe. I said maybe. I didn't say definitively. But yeah, I like a lot of the other Earth characters, like Ojiro. Man, that's a really cool. But he's just better on fire because here's my unblockable Recipro burst that you can't reduce the speed on.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
And then like Mountain Lady's, I think Mountain Lady is maybe she's pushing second because she gets get her free momentum. So
yeah, because. Yeah, because you read the character, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh my god, I got to play a bunch of different copies of Mount Lady," and it's like, or you just don't play any, and you just consistently get the momentum every turn.
Yeah, Tanner from Michigan has me on the Mount Lady Detroit Smash train right now, and I hate Detroit Smash with my passion. I think it's just a bad card, just because it's a half of a card, and why would you ever want to play a half of a card? Right. But what he's explained is just like, oh boy. You created a Mature 59. I don't know if you guys know what Mature 59 was. Mature 59. Mature the character from KOF, from the old game, and then basically. And you played 59 attacks, and you killed your opponent on turn 1 or 2 every time. Because she would get into desperation eventually, or she played enough 3 diff attacks to where she would be able to cut herself down on your first attack. He would go second every time. If you won the die roll, you would choose to go second because you'd start ready. And then you would just start slinging 3 diff attacks, cutting yourself with stuff. So you're in desperation, getting +2 to 3 to your next check to play a mid attack. So you would murder people without playing foundations. So, but yeah, him and the Michigan crew created that deck. So like anything he has like big brained, I'm just like, I'm listening. I'm listening.
When you said that, I was like, I remember that card. I was thinking of Cole 45. That old card, Cole 45, but I do not remember that deck. No, I was lying.
That's fine. It's all right. No worries. It almost won the Rockford PTC until Mark Wisniewski saved the day with Dimitri, and that was really the only event Dimitri I think ever won outside of maybe a Worlds team thing. I don't remember. It's been a while. So yeah.
Nice. I was gonna say, I think we all agree that Kirishima is easily like the best, most busted Earth character.
Yes.
So if you had to like pick one to make like a fun deck with, what character would you pick?
All Might, of course.
I think it's All Might. Like Ryan and I have talked about this some too. I really want that All Might to be good. Like I think there's something there. Just that like he starts with 8 cards basically, right?
You can, yeah.
I mean, if you're going second, obviously you can't do it if you're going first. But and with the new Mulligan rules really helps out the 5 hand size characters a lot. They can kind of form their hands a little bit better, so they're not as handicapped by that. So I really like that All Might. I think I don't think you go all in on the powerful X play, but if it's there and your opponent can't stop it, then just screw it. Let's do it.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know if like you use the form on turn 1 because I think you get set up first and then you do it, and then you just try to blow your opponent out like you just said. Just because strategy wise, if you get behind on foundations against a 6 or a 7 hander, you're gonna have a bad day. You know, that happened. To use an example, it happened yesterday actually. I was playing against Kirishima in the finals, and he went first in game 1. he mulliganed away attacks and drew more attacks, and he only played 2 foundations, and then he's like, well, I guess I'll start attacking, and then he got behind even more. I had like 12 foundations at turn 2 he had 4 at turn 3, so also I was erasing him every time he attacked me, so he couldn't build. So that's a tip, kids. That one's free, as Matt would say. That one's free. Erase Kirishima every attack you can. But the new mulligan rule helps out low hand size characters big time, because that was one I guess bad thing about them is that, well, I don't draw foundations. Well, I'm kind of screwed because I can't build as fast as some other characters.
Yeah. But what about you, Ryan? What would be your second
for
funsies?
So I have interest in Ojiro. I'm going to talk about Ojiro, even though Chris isn't. I like everything that he does, man. Like, the speed makes up for some of the weaknesses the symbol has, but also like flipping foundations to give your attack damage to if it gets blocked, flip your rival's foundations. You probably do some cool stuff with like that and apathetic, blow up. Use apathetic to target their blow up outlets so that they get stuck with like all face down stuff. Assuming the game goes that long, that's ambitious, I know, but yeah, I want to build Ojiro like as soon as I get my hands on him. Maybe I'll build him on TTS or something so I can get out there.
What's his stats? Is he a 626 or 627?
629.
Yeah, he's real beefy. He's basically got 30 health.
He's a beefy boy.
Yeah. That's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I know we've chatted because you just made a joke about playing a long game, and not lying. Like every game yesterday, people were going into turns 5 and 6. Like there's people cycling and almost.
Oh wow, nice.
Oh yeah, like we've adopted the 50 card minimum as a trap meme because Kirishima can mill you out just by defending all day. So we've adapted we'll go 55 to 60 and see how that goes. And it seems, I think 55 to 60 is really your sweet spot for your deck, depending on if you want to be like Burb or whatever, where you just want to just 50 card flat and just blow them out in turn 2, which Burb wants to do.
Right.
I do kind of want to talk about the 7 hand size Ida. I think he is just like categorically worse than the regular Ida, right? Like he's the 6, the regular one is just awesome. I don't know where I come down on this Ida. What do you guys think about him?
I don't think he's good, and that's all I'll say about that Ida.
I think his support's better than the character. But
his DLC support?
His DLC support's better than the character. But it's basically the DLC support is the character on the cards. So I would rather play the other Ida over the DLC Ida because that one card doesn't make a whole difference when every card in his support that you play draws a card. The Engine Rush draws a card. Reciprocal Extend, maybe his best attack, draws a card. The DLC card draws a card. Unconditionally draws a card. And you get speed by discarding a card. So what you do is you play Eraserhead stuff. You play, Late Riser to get extra speed. You discard the card, and then you draw the card back. His own foundation draws a card. So it's just like, there's no reason to play the 7-hander because you draw so many cards with Ida anyways. On his support, I should say.
I can see that.
It does make me real sad that the DLC Ida has Earth instead of Fire, because man, I want to play those attacks so bad in Fire Ida.
More importantly, if you could play like Bakugo stuff that like when it hits the discard, it would be really dumb with this Ida.
Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine maybe they had that in mind.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if Void keeps getting cards that do things when you discard them, I can see this character end up being really good. I just don't know that he has the tools right now to be really good.
No.
I'd be really interested. I really hope they don't do it though, but I don't want to see a design space where there's a response after you discard this card, draw a card. I don't want to see that at all. I don't.
Yeah.
I want to see a damage one. I would love to see a damage one alongside a speed one, so you have some sort of on a spam. So you have to choose or mix. Because I think that would be kind of neat, and a neat design space where you can get some damage pump on that. Because that's one thing that I noticed that outside Reciprocal Burst, because that card's just amazing. It lacks a lot of damage outside of like Ida's one foundation that responds, and then the powerful effects on cards and the reciprocal burst. So like just generally, I think Void can push through attacks. It's just they just don't chunk you to death unless you're playing reciprocal burst for a kill. So
Agreed.
that's my hot.
Nice.
We'll have to have you back on for the Void podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I think we're going to take a little break, but we're going to come back and talk about some attacks and foundations and kind of get our thoughts on kind of how those stack up. All right, guys, welcome back to the UA podcast. Again, this is the Symbols of Peace podcast talking about Earth. Getting back into it, we're going to kind of talk about the identity of the symbol so far at My Hero Academia. Are there any differences you guys feel like from UFS to My Hero with its kind of what of its identity, what it wants to do?
I feel the identity is pretty much the same, where it wants to flip your opponent's foundations, flip my own foundations for good effects, unflip things on my side of the board, which is amazing because I get to reuse basically like super regeneration multiple times a game, which is awesome. A lot of there's a fair amount of damage reduction, like in the Kirishima part. And a lot like usually traditionally in UFS, Earth is the throw symbol, but they have no throws in this set.
I was gonna bring that up because I feel like the last deck I played in UFS was King, and I threw a lot of throws, and I was like, even as the cards were being spoiled, I was like, there's no throws.
Yep. Throws are another symbols, which is really weird because water has the most throws out of all in the entire set, which is really awkward. And
I guess since they didn't get reversals, they were like, just take the throws. That's fine.
For the most part, yeah. Also, they have I think Earth, there are no other 5-handers in any other symbols, right? In the base set, I should say.
I was gonna say in the DLC, there's the 5-hander Araka, but yeah, in the base set, it's Nomu, All Might, Kirishima. They're almost all 5-hand size, except for Aoyama.
Yeah, except for Aoyama, who really shouldn't be a Earth character.
I was gonna say, well, yeah.
Yep.
He's. I'll have some takes about that later.
Nice. Yeah. So and usually it has like damage reduction, which it does in some of the Kirishima stuff. And there's some flippy opponent stuff in Nomu with Apathetic, which is quite possibly one of the best cards in the game because target flip is amazing. So because there's a lot of anti-committal in this set, which is really, really nice. Not just anti-stun like in Resistance, but anti-committal like in It Can't Be Fixed, where you just build one, which is awesome.
Yep.
The theme that I thought was most interesting that Earth has so far is like the punch theme, because I feel like it normally doesn't have punches, but like every character in this set except for Aoyama is a punch character for Earth so far. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's something that's across 3 characters actually. All Might, Nomu, and Kirishima. They all share like a punch type theme, which is probably why punches are, because it also Kirishima and All Might share good, but that's a topic for another story. But that's probably why. And then that's probably why the punch decks are so strong right now, just because you have multiple characters putting in support into it.
Yeah, you got a lot of options for punches right now.
And then you have Nomu and All Might both also have a bunch of Fury attacks. Which is kind of interesting. Obviously, with Nomu, he's got Evil, so you think Evil and Death have a lot of Fury attacks, so you'd see that. But with All Might, I was kind of surprised he has a lot of Fury attacks. I don't know if that was just going into like, oh, well, he's got Earth, we're going to keep this a theme because Nomu's going to have Earth too, and then we'll have that kind of stuff going on.
I think you're onto something right there, because he's kind of, when he fights, he's very, very, for lack of a better word, furious when he, because he swings really fast. He's just very powerful. So it could just mean that Fury also means it's just a very powerful attack. So not just like mad or evil or whatever, So it could be like that.
Okay.
Or just like, I mean, when it comes to those keywords though, it's they can just throw them on anything, man. Because like,
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, like back in the day, but like nowadays, you kind of look at it like not to preface like Todoroki cards or anything, but like, Breaker, kind of like his Ice Wall is kind of thematic because he's stopping his opponent from doing that. Same thing with Ice Storm. I don't know why Naval Laser has Breaker on it, which is really, I think that one feels more tacked on. Like it's like, okay, but we need to give something else to something, another symbol. So
Yeah.
I think there may be sort of I don't have insider knowledge on this one, so I'm just guessing. I think there's a plan with the keywords just to be more thematic with some stuff. It could be.
Okay.
It just seems to me. It seems like that. The keyword spaghetti in the and universes seems that's just tacking on wherever. But this kind of has like a, I don't know, like a plan in a way.
Yeah,
Just,
no, I like
to
that.
say-
Like you said, it fits the characters, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, like No Moves attacks, like he is hitting very hard, and he really doesn't have thoughts outside of kill All Might, right? Like that's all he
Yeah.
wants to do. And All Might is very also furious in his attacks, but it's in the inverse of what like the evil characters are doing.
Mhm.
But yeah. Now let's get into some of the actual cards. So as far as the attacks, what are some of the standout attacks? Like if you think, all right, I'm gonna make an Earth deck, I'm starting with at least 4 of this card, 4 of this card.
Hardened Jab.
Hardened Jab.
Starting
Okay.
every Earth deck with Hardened Jab, no matter who it is. I don't care. Because I don't have a
That card's
face.
very
I don't
good.
have a face down. I build one for free with it. The
Mhm.
3 mid for 5, yeah, but it has like I believe a +1 high block,
Mhm.
but you just build the face down with it, and it's amazing. Like of course it's Kirishima support, so it's gonna work best in him. But if you're a 5-hander and you need to, because one good thing with the 5-handers is if you're able to build for free, like with Missouri Smash or with Hardened Jab. Um, Granted, Missouri Smash is conditional because you have to hit, but to build that face down while you're attacking, that is just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a hot take on Earth that I don't think it has like any standout attacks. Not that I don't
Oh,
think the
okay.
attacks are good. I think they're all generically good. I just don't think there's one that's like, oh man, like I have to put this in my deck. Because like there's a bunch of good attacks like Relentless Barrage, Hardened Pummel, Texas Smash. I think all those cards are great, but I don't look at any of those and I'm like, oh man, like that's the standout iconic attack of Earth.
You didn't
I
Merciless Rush though. Merciless Rush is awesome. That card's great too. It's a 4 diff and a 5-hander, by the way. So
is this a meme? I've seen this going around on Facebook. I think the card's really good, but I don't know if it's a meme or not.
no, it's not a meme. It's real.
I think
You,
that card is really good too. I mean, the +1 low block is really crucial because much like in early UFS, low blocks were at a premium, right? Because low attacks were always seemed harder to block. It's got a +1 low block. It's a high attack itself. It's easier to play. It blows up
also has
foundations.
which is really weird. It has EX on it, which is
Yeah.
really odd for like just a 5-diff punch, I guess. Which I guess it doesn't really make sense because it's the first set, so everything's kind of new. So putting even 2 speed on that, a 6 high for 5 that your opponent has to block. If they completely block, you get to just destroy a foundation.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
sounds pretty good,
It's
especially
pretty
in
good.
a 5-hander. To debuild your opponent or take damage is a win in my opinion in a 5-hander.
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely agree. So, I mean, I think if I look at most Earth attacks, I'm just like, yeah, like all these things are good. Like, I don't have any problems with most of the attacks in the symbol.
I just don't ever play Gale Force Punch though, so no. Gale Force Punch is a
Yeah,
no for me.
I got about 70 of those in my 7 boxes, so I just kind of
Yeah,
threw them in the garbage. I hate that
I,
card.
I think as Matt said, the Gale Force tax on the first set is very real. It's
Yeah,
it's like every third to fourth pack. Oh, here's a Gale Force punch. All right.
It was coordinated effort for me. I got
Oh, yeah.
I got a bunch of those. Yeah, I got.
I got a literal dozen of Think Fast, the Cero Foundation.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah.
that awesome
also
foundation that's unique.
Yeah,
Also, Hardened Chop, the rare for Kirishima, where if your opponent blocks, they have to discard a card from their hand.
that card's really
So,
good.
That's card's really
Um,
good.
The worst thing about that card, it's a 5-diff. That's the worst thing about that card, and that sucks.
Yeah.
5-diff.
I'm gonna say I think Texas Smash is the attack for me. I feel like if you're building an Earth deck, you're gonna put in Texas Smash. You're probably gonna, if you've got 4 of it, you're gonna play 4 of it.
I
Right.
believe in my ultra rare buy it now article, that was one of the top 5 to buy because it's so cheap and it's just so the value for it is so
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for difficulty, if you're I ideally it's a 5 difficulty because you're playing as your second attack to get the combo on it. And it's a 7 damage, it's out the box, 4 high. It's got a +1 mid block. It's got a 3 check. It's just the card's fucking great.
And it just dumps 4 damage on your next attack if you discard a card. So it's
Yeah.
just like it's like, okay, yeah, let's go to town, man. You start chaining those things, you're going to Pound Town.
Yeah, your opponent does not feel good.
Yeah.
Just got to put speed on it. That's all you got to do. Is find some way to put speed on it.
Are there any attacks you feel like they're just kind of like, why did you make this attack? Like, what were they thinking?
Scroll down to Aoyama's attacks. Hold on.
I want to say probably Gale Force Punch. Why does it have a 2 check on it? But okay,
I was gonna say like that's
it's 6 damage and it's an extra 6 damage in Nomu, so I get it. They have to give him something big.
But you could make it a 5 difficulty for 5 damage though, right?
But yeah.
And just give it a 3 check because I feel like because at some point I'm gonna make a Nomu deck because we have to like try it, right? Like I know we shit on Nomu constantly, but we never actually play him.
We have a local guy who's maining Nomu because he loves Nomu in the show, so he's playing Nomu. And plus, he plays traditionally bad characters and tries to make them good. So
okay, I respect that.
So we have something to test against. So,
yeah,
because
but yeah, like I look at Gale Force Punch and I'm like, this card is so close to being maybe the best rare in the game, and it's just that 2 check. Like just bring it down, guys. Just make it even if it's just like a 5 for a 4 mid for 5 or something, you know. We won't have to give it 6 speed, 6 everything. +1 high block. It's awesome. It's got great enhances.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just
outside of Gale Force Punch, I mean, most of the Earth attacks look like they have a place and they're meaningfully designed and everything. Like, I don't have any issue with any of them.
And you can't hate on Aoyama's stuff because he gets rid of momentum, and that's premium in the.
I was just looking at that. I was like, man, this card's like not the best, but like it does get rid of momentum. So
I want to say it's as rare that it gets rid of a momentum on play, and that's fantastic, you know.
Yeah, and it's only a 4 diff, right? +1 low block, and he's got the only other Breaker 2 card in the game. Like that's on his ultra rare, and that's. So I guess I'm just gonna talk about Aoyama. Like when Aoyama first came out, me and Ryan like this card. He looks awesome. I love Aoyama. I want to do all these things, but then they printed Eraser, and you're like, well, can't play Aoyama because you just never get to use any of his abilities, right?
A blank 627 is not very good.
Yeah. My take.
To be fair, everyone's pretty much blank except for a handful of characters against you.
Yeah. But Eraser makes it especially easy against Aoyama because Aoyama does literally nothing on Eraser's turn. So you don't have to blank him on any of your attacks. You just don't care. I think Aoyama should not be an Earth character. He should be a Water character. And I feel like maybe one of the reasons they didn't give him Water is because you can't have 2 Breaker 2 blocks in the same symbol along with a bunch of other Breaker 1s because it's just like some new player's going to sit down against like I don't know, Mineta Water, and they play one attack. You're like, all right, Breaker 2, and then they play another attack. And like, all right, Breaker 2, and they just do nothing the entire game. Like, well, this feels real bad.
I think it's more along. Yeah, we definitely don't want 8 copies of a Breaker 2 in anybody's deck.
Yeah.
Honestly. So.
But yeah, so that is my hot Aoyama takes. I know you. That's what you came here for. Yeah,
I can totally get on board with that. I really do. He doesn't feel like an Earth character. He feels more like a life character.
Like, which he does have life. So.
He does have life, yeah. But I want to say, I like sometimes they have that weird third symbol that they tack on to people just to get the symbol balances right. So it could have been Earth, could have been just a toss on, just so we have enough of the symbol balance. So.
Yeah. Now, I will say about Aoyama, I like that he has Earth because of his foundation base being played with other Earth characters. It's really good.
Glamorous is like one of the best foundations in the set. I'm just gonna say it right now. It is.
Yeah. I guess we'll kind of use that as a segue into foundations, unless you guys have any other attacks thoughts before we move on.
I said my piece.
Yeah, okay. I think we all kind of got in on the attacks a little bit. I think we're good.
So I think the overall thoughts on Earth attacks is they're all pretty good. There's nothing. There's like outside of Gale Force Punch. Like I don't think I'd play that in any deck other than Gale Force Punch. They're all really solid, all really good. Now, as far as foundations, I think Earth has some of my favorite foundations in the game. We touched a little bit on Apathetic. That's just an incredibly powerful move to be like, oh, there's irrefutable force of nature. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it before you can seal my apathetic.
Mm-hmm.
You know. What about you guys? What are some of your favorite Earth foundations we got going on here?
So on the flip side of attacks, where I didn't think there were any standout attacks, there's a ton of standout foundations in the symbol that do play on that flip symbol.
Mhm.
As John was laughing about. So like manly passionate guy is like one of my favorite foundations in the whole set. You mentioned apathetic. Chris mentioned super regeneration earlier. Coordinated effort is awesome. It gives you card pool clearing in Earth, which is nice, and builds your
Mm-hmm.
stage up. And You're So Obvious, one of the best defensive foundations in the set. Um, I love the foundation base of Earth so much.
Glamorous, comboed with manly passionate style. You block with, say, you block a low block, a low attack with glamorous, bring it down with manly passionate, then you unflip your super regen. That is just a huge 6 point health swing in a game, which is a whole attack or more, depending on how much damage you take in. Sticking with the Aoyama stuff, someone with style may be the best stun hate in the game because you just pop it to put the attack speed to 0.
Mhm.
And then also you can nuke a foundation to get out of deadlock or to get rid of stuff that's flipped and you're not going to be able to use it to ready it once per turn. That's something huge that could just extend your turn, along with like hardened jab and manly passionate and all that. It's just there's a lot of versatility in the foundation base off of Earth that as a player you have to be careful attacking into an Earth deck. You're like, well, they have all flipped foundations. Well, they're just gonna, bring down something with manly passionate and start unflipping your stuff. Like being able to unflip an apathetic defensively and flip your opponent's foundations is just crazy. It's just being able to get like because the flip effects, right, are just like once per game effects in
Mhm.
theory.
Yeah.
So but with like naval laser beam, glamorous, you can start unflipping all of this stuff and just going to town because outside of fighting, well, not even really fighting Eraser, I think Aoyama may be the hardest person. I mean, that package of glamorous. Whoever can play the glamorous, manly, passionate, super regen package, and plays naval laser beam is going to be some of the hardest characters to kill, just because you're going to be able to unflip all your regens over and over again in a game. So, magical Christmas Hollywood land.
Yeah, the best case scenario. But even
Case scenario.
it's not unrealistic to be like, all right, I've got an apathetic in play. First attack, Missouri Smash. I flip something with apathetic. The attack hits. I play glamorous, pull down glamorous instantly, flip back over apathetic. I cleared my card pool. Next attack, I play something else. I'm going to flip something else with apathetic again.
On the flip side, on another to add to that, let's say they partial block it and you have coordinated effect out. You can build that Missouri Smash and then play that glamorous, and then your card pool is completely cleared.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. Like the way you can like Earth has never had traditional card pool clearing. Granted, coordinated effort's more of a good card than it is, Earth card, but it doesn't matter. It has 3 symbols for a reason.
I was gonna say it's got that symbol on it. That's all I
It
care
has that
about.
symbol on it. I'm smacking coordinated effort into every deck that can play it. So, because card pool clearing is a premium in this game.
I would just like to say that I think I found the name of this podcast episode. It's On the Flip Side, by the way, because we've said it about 6 times, and it's very relevant.
Yes.
Super relevant.
But you were talking
even
about.
like,
Oh, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, even just like the spam foundations are great. You look at tight lipped, it can't be fixed. They're both 0/5s, and they both have +1 blocks.
Yeah.
Like that's I don't think there's other 0 cost foundations that have +1 blocks. I'm scrolling real quick.
I'll let you know. I'll look. I'm looking right now.
I say I'm looking too. I don't see. I see some +2s, some +3s.
Yeah.
I don't see any +1s. And that's obviously with Kirishima, he's kind of like the exception to the rule, but he's just going to be able to pull those back up whenever he wants. And he's like, oh, I flipped over. It can't be fixed. Well, now I can pick it back up and it's a +1 high block.
Yeah, you're completely right. There are no other +1s on zeros.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Pull no punches has one of the best deadlock enhances. If your opponent gets that far, it's one of the main ways Earth can push through attacks. It's essentially +3 speed, kind of, because it's +2 speed in the stun 1. That's stun 1's like an effective +1 speed. It's just, man, these foundations are all really good. I really like celebrity status too. It's kind
Yeah.
of
Oh,
like
yeah.
targeted card draw.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to say, if you ever sit down against Earth, never go into deadlock against Earth. That's like the worst
Yes.
idea you can have.
Just
Yes.
don't.
Yeah,
You don't want
and
them flipping everything on your board with coordinate. You don't want the unflip stuff with coordinated effort.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say the unflip with coordinated effort. It's just if you thought apathetic was bad on one attack, how about every attack?
And then or super regen on the because it works on the defense too. So you can
Yeah.
Yeah.
super regen. Oh, I take one. I'll flip super regen to gain 2. So your attack didn't do anything.
Yeah.
In fact, your attack helped me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's that one rare case where hey, does a negative attack heal me? Well, in this case, it does.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah,
I
you're-
just
You brought up You're So Obvious. I think the set 1 that's a staple in a lot of those on Earth. But I think it's going to get one of those cards where it may get moved to the sideboard eventually, just due to the forecheck.
Right.
Because there's a
yeah.
lot of good cards. Because Apathetic is also a forecheck, so you kind of don't want to play more than an X amount of forechecks because then your ratios are all screwed up, and you don't want to be I need a 7
Yeah.
on this. So if I have 2 ready foundations and my character's committed, so if I check a 5, I'm good. Oh, I checked that 8th 4 in my deck, so you do
Feels
have to
real bad.
deck building ratios on that. So there are a lot of good. That's usually one of the detriments to having a lot of good foundations. Is some of the times the foundations have 4 checks on them, and you have to be careful on that one.
Or you just play Yoga Mastery and it has a 6 for some reason.
I mean, we don't talk about Yoga Mastery here. We don't talk about that card.
Redacted.
Yeah, you go redacted.
Yeah.
That's Wagner's thing. Yeah, redacted.
Yeah. But you were talking about what is it called? Someone with Style earlier. Just to give you an idea of how good that card is. Someone with Style, the stun negation or the stun reduce speed to 0. I was playing a stun deck against Matt, and he just has one copy of this on the table, and I just don't even want to even use my stun abilities ever. I'm just like, well,
it's the same with it can't be fixed.
It can't be fixed and resistance.
Yeah. You just was it yesterday? Trent was playing Todoroki into Tyler's Kirishima. Trent went giant ice wall, pitched the momentum, giant ice wall, pitched the momentum, giant ice wall. He was just pitching momentum for the stun too, but Tyler had 3 it can't be fixed out. So he's just like, I'm burning momentum for no reason. Why am I doing this? Because he's just, he's just going through the motions because he's attacking. He's just used to doing it all the time. And it's just like, I think at that point, you just have to push through it.
Yeah, you just do
start stunning them out because eventually they're going to run out of resources. Then you bomb them with a big attack. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just have, and plus if he's close to deadlock, they're not going to build it. They're not going to build it because they don't want to go into deadlock against you. They just don't. So sometimes that happens. So you just want to be mindful of your game scenarios where sometimes it's just good just to let them do their stupid stuff and then just push through them. And I say stupid stuff by cool stuff, and stupid means cool in most instances.
Stunning is one of those conditional things. It's like, am I stunning you? Oh man, this is the best ability ever. If I'm just getting stunned out, you're like, man, they should ban this keyword.
It's always good. It's like what do they say? It's good when you do it, but it feels bad when it's happening to you. It's like that. Was it the Occam's Razor 2020 whatever thing?
Yeah, Catch 22. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you ever played Blood Bowl, Chris, but Blood Bowl is like the most fun you've ever had playing a game, and simultaneously the least fun you've ever had playing a game, all at the same time. And it's very much like that. You're like, oh man, I'm just killing all my opponent's team, and then it happens to you. You're like, what? No.
You kill 5 of their dudes, and then they get one of yours, and you're like, fuck, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I hate this.
Okay, I know we've talked about a bunch of strengths on the Earth symbol, but we haven't really touched the weaknesses of it yet. So can we go into that?
Definitely.
If we're done talking about, one honorable mention, Sheik Cape, amazing. So
man, I love Treshik Cape. I want that card to be so much better than it is. So I built an Earth Kirishima deck, and I had 2 of it in the deck. Only 2. I was like, because it's unique. I don't want to have 4 of them. It's got an unplayable block.
+4,
yeah, +4 mid. And we go to game 2 versus Matt, and my opening hand is 2 3-cost foundations, 1 cape, and like 2 attacks or something. So I pitch one of the 3-cost foundations, one of the cape, and then I mulliganed into 1 3-cost foundation, another cape, and 3 attacks. I was like, well, this feels real bad.
That's rough.
Yeah, but yeah, man, the cape. If you can pull the cape off, I think it's like a one of in most decks.
I'm not saying play. It doesn't have breaker on it, so I wouldn't play 4 of it. You're not like
Yeah.
it's not a quick creation where you just play 4 of it no matter what.
Right.
Or earphone jack where you can play 2 to 3 and feel pretty good about it because it has a +1 high block. But
Yeah.
if you get it on board and you start unflipping your apathetics and your other cards that were committed to past checks, or even if someone flips, say you flip someone with style to give it your attack +1 defense, +1 attack,
Yeah.
while you're attacking, you can unflip it and ready it. Just there's little interactions that you can do with it that can pan out because there's a lot of playable while committed stuff on Earth, which is another strength, which I just realized that we have. There's quite a bit on that, which it seems to be a lot of the stun committal hate has that, and that's only
It makes sense.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you can't be played while it's committed, but
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something I just wanted to drop in because we hadn't talked about the asset because there's
Yeah.
very few, only like 3 assets in the entire set. So
And there's
No, it's a good call.
actions. There's like 0 actions, right? I mean, I guess we could talk
Yeah.
about
I mean, you get
Go Beyond
plus
and
ultra
Plus
technically.
Ultra.
Yeah,
But,
no one's playing Go Beyond yet. Let's be real.
yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah,
so
as far as some weaknesses for the symbol, what do you guys? I feel like we talked about it some. There's not a whole lot of like speed pumps. There's kind of card pool clearing, but it's kind of like workaround card pool clearing. It's not like air or something like that where they're just getting it out of there.
Generic card draw is another issue they have. They don't have a lot of card draw. Hiroshima notwithstanding, because he
Right.
gets to pick and choose whatever he
Yeah,
wants.
and that's not really card draw. It's more like card cycling kind of.
More of selective card cycling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like All Might has the draw 3 cards, but I think that's the worst part about him. Is the form, because you never want to. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably why I haven't touched the character, because I think about, well, when do I do that? Well, when I'm attacking, but I'm a 5-hander, so what if my opponent is totally built up? I can't do much at all. I have no throws to put into people, so
My thoughts on All Might are you just use this form every single turn, literally the entire game. That's my thoughts on him.
You could, yeah, 7, 8, 6, 5, and then you're probably in your
game's probably over by then. Yeah,
game's over. Then yeah, I can see that. There's not a lot of speed. Like John, you said speed pump. There's very little speed reduction outside of the stun hate to 0. So you're kind of hurting on that for one.
Is that just a product of the symbol having almost exclusively 5-handers, and maybe their design space is like they'll just tank it with their face. They don't need to reduce speed.
Yeah, they just kind of get hit, and who cares?
It kind of goes in line with the damage reduction and like super regen type stuff. Is where they don't 5-handers don't traditionally block. They face tank everything. So
right,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I had down for my weaknesses too. It's just like card draw and long attack strings. Like you're not throwing like 7 attacks or 6 attacks or 5 attacks in a turn with Earth. Unless, I guess if you're playing punches and you have like 4 copies of All Might's thing that like puts stuff in your momentum, you could, I guess. But I don't know.
I've seen him throw 7 attacks in a turn, so yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
So, granted, our games go a lot longer here locally than most people, I guess, from what I've been hearing outside of Rockford. So I've seen Kirishima throw a 5-attack string and a 7-attack string in different games. But yeah, it's again, it's all because it's a card game. It's all RNG. Not every game's the game, but your game plan is normally trying to do the same. So yeah, but I also think that's also Earth's game plan, is to kind of piggyback on the strengths, is they want to throw a bunch of attacks in a row because they can't push attacks through. They have to play the quantity. You have to play multiples of attacks in attack string in a turn to at least hopefully hit, because your attacks aren't very fast.
Yeah.
And I guess
into a weakness. So.
I was gonna say that is another weakness. Also, is that if you are playing against an Earth deck, you can probably know, like, if they lead with an attack, you're like, I probably should just block these first couple of attacks because they're probably not playing a whole lot. Like some
Crazy.
decks, you're like, maybe I'll just take the first hit. Maybe it's just like a little poke attack. They're just trying to get something through. With Earth, you can probably bet they're not playing a whole lot of attacks, so kind of changes the strategy what you're going to do turn to turn.
Yeah, and that's like the beauty of the game is like you have to play differently against every symbol, against every character, and you can have two of the same characters and the two of the same symbols, and the decks can be completely different. And that's something that you have to just plan for as a player, and that comes down to card pool knowledge and sometimes even player knowledge. Like if you sat across from like a Phil Birch or a Matt Childress or a Dave Wagner, they're all three are going to play the decks differently. You know, they're all going to think their lines through differently. So you kind of almost have to play the game while playing the player, while playing against your control checks. So there's a lot of different things you have to think about in a game. Well, I mean, like that's more advanced stuff, but
Yeah.
unless you can tilt your opponent, and then it doesn't matter. So that's
Get them on tilt early by checking all fives all the time.
Yeah.
Or if you play four copies, you play four versions of the same card. That also can tilt people too. Then they call you a monster because you're playing four different arts of the same card. So that's happened to me once. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's going to kind of bring our discussion on Earth to a close. I think it's a really strong symbol. I think it's one of the better symbols we got going on right now. Like it says, we just talked about, it does have its weaknesses, as most symbols do. But I think its strengths will outweigh its weaknesses right now. And I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with it moving into the next sets. I'm really interested to see what the DLC Kirishima's going to look like, to see if he's going to continue with his kind of theme, and what they're going to build on with that.
From what I've heard, I don't know how true this is like all of the set 2 characters that have like their version 2s they're in the set. You know, obviously they're probably going to be in sets, but I guess the rumor is, I've heard from the rumor mill, from different lines, is like they're going to have half support. And new characters are going to get full support, which kind of makes sense because you don't want to give another full support set to a character that has you want to build on what they have, not
right.
We're going to create a completely new theme for this character, so none of these cards work with this character. You know, so
yeah, and
that's what I would do. You know,
that does make a lot of sense. I used to play the Versus card game, the Marvel DC card game, and that used to be what they would do.
Is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, because like I played X-Men because I love X-Men, and every set there'd be a few new X-Men characters, and it would just continue that theme, even if it was like, well, this is the Marvel Knights set, you know, it's got Punisher, Blade, that kind of stuff, but there'd be like 2 or 3 X-Men characters thrown in there, and that would make sense to do that with this game.
Because what they called legacy building, the back page cards were the legacy cards, so they worked with cards from previous sets. So exactly what you just said, John. So yeah, I have my entire Versus collection downstairs, and I still have 15 decks. So if we're ever in the same place, I will bring my decks and we will play.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess Ryan, you want to set up what symbol we're doing next?
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
Let's
almost
see.
forgot.
So we're 3 symbols.
This is one of my favorite parts of the podcast is the Wheel of Fun.
Let's make
1 to 9.
1 to 9. I got to make the window visible again because I had shrunk it down. Oh no. This is live editing. Okay, so I guess time to generate this random number.
All right, what we got?
We're hoping for water.
8 out of 9. Let's see what that is.
That
is water,
void.
I think. No, void then water. It's void. Yeah.
Void or water,
Yeah. This void. I don't even.
You know what that means, Ryan? It's talking about Ida for a 4th week in a row.
Ida again.
Ida time, baby. All right. Well, cool. So
a 4th
Ida
week in a row he's been talked about. So
because we did Order, Fire, Earth, so we got the DLC Ida, and now we've got Void. So regular Ida. We're gonna talk about Ida again.
It's gonna be an Ida shortage after next week. It's gonna be gone.
Although I think little preview. I don't think he will be the best Void character.
I don't think so, but he's definitely up there. He's definitely number 2. No, because Kirishima's number 2. So it's just oh my god.
It's Void. It's gonna be a good discussion. I'm looking forward to it.
Void is stacked.
Yeah.
Right,
do you guys have any closing thoughts before we head out of here?
No, just have fun. Stay safe out there in your local groups. Just make sure you are playing well and wearing your mask out there like good kids.
Oh, and if you've got new players coming in, Matt has a bunch of lesson type stuff up on the
Oh,
UA
yeah.
website for teaching new players how to play the game. Obviously, I know Jasco has like their videos or whatever, but these are a little more interactive, kind of like PowerPoint lessons. Kind of, I think they're really interesting. You guys should check them out.
I should.
Mhm.
I have a deck profile coming out for Eraserhead off of Void.
Mm-hmm.
I know Drew Maffei has a Tokiyami budget deck and a budget deck series coming out, which is
Okay.
I'm trying to hype it because I don't think
Yeah.
he's talked about it at all. He's taking the rival decks and building 6 decks with the rival decks and
Okay,
commons and
cool.
uncommons. It's not. He even prefaces it. It's not going to win you an event. It's going to get your feet wet, and you
Yeah.
can just start with those. And it's like a Tokiyami. There's an Ida. It's just like a bunch of cool stuff for new players to get into the game. So, and then I'm going to do. I'm going to call. I know I struggle coming up with names for my articles, but it's going to be a 2-hit combo. I'm going to look at 2-card interactions over a couple symbols that are very powerful.
Very nice. And you're also working on an article about we were just talking about it pricing.
Oh
Card pricing.
yeah, the article came out.
Oh, is it already out? Okay.
Yeah, it's already out. It's the best 5 ultra
Oh,
rares
that's right. That's the one.
for
Wednesday.
that. But I'm also tracking ultra rare prices.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
I'm not going to put an article out every week, but I'm going to come back like after a month. I'm just going to track. I'm going to see how the market is because when week 0 hit, prices were up in the air, and now that week 1 is over, prices are way down again. Are way down. There are
Yeah.
some that are fluctuating. There are currently, as of now, there are 5 ultra rares that have gained value since week 1. So,
Mm-hmm. And I'm
it's
really
very
interested. I'm interested to see what Unlimited's going to do for pricing when that hits, because it's either going to flood the market with a bunch of cards, or it's like, oh, these cards were even rarer than we thought,
Yeah.
and the price is going to go way up.
Like if you think about it, like Frigid Heatwave, Detroit Smash, and for some reason Grape Rush Attack are the 3 most expensive ultra rares for some random reason. The rumor is that they were short printed, but I think the real thing is they're all in rival decks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the majority of them are. They got slotted into rival decks somehow, and so that's probably
Okay.
Or there's a bunch of boxes that aren't opened yet, and people just haven't pulled them. So that could also be another.
Or people just aren't selling them because they want to keep them, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, because collectors can keep them too. You know, that's the thing. I think they were hoping the first, like with Unlimited, that first edition prices are going to go up because all the collectors are going to want first edition because that collecting, or just it's more precious, I guess, to coin a term. Insert Smeagol meme.
Precious. I have to do that in post.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Like we said, stay safe out there and enjoy the game. And everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you later.
Plus Ultra, baby. Plus Ultra.
Plus
Bye.
Ultra.